This is a bright orange star known as Aldebaran, sitting around 65 light-years away from our sun, and here it is in my light-polluted sky. This star is 44 times the size of our own sun, and sits in the constellation of Taurus. A constellation known since the early Bronze Age, it was often thought of as the Bull of Heaven, a mythical beast fought by the hero Gilgamesh, and according to Assyriologists Jeremy Black and Anthony Green, Enkidu hurled the bull's thigh at Ishtar in the Epic of Gilgamesh after defeating it, which may explain why the constellation seems to be missing its hind quarters, as if the constellation missing a part of itself is quite important. And this is Aldebaran, otherwise known as one of the three great mysteries of the series, who is also missing a piece of himself in more ways than one. When you first see him, you might not really think much of him, and then he drops one of the biggest bombshells this early on in the series. He too is from Japan. And that isn't just for mystery's sake or some cool world building, but it's also used to contrast with Subaru's expectations, who early on in the series had all of these preconceived notions about his status in this world by virtue of being isekai'd, and then he meets Al, who is more or less unimpressive, and missing an arm, and certainly not running the show like Subaru expected to. It's one of the many reality checks Subaru receives in that arc, and sets up Al as someone we will definitely watch with great interest, unless you're an anime only. Our second meeting with him would then increase our suspicions about him drastically, after Subaru gets his ass kicked by Priscilla, and she calls for Aldebaran, as much as he dislikes being called by his full name, who takes him back to Rem. He would mistake Rem for Ram, and when Rem would correct her, Al would stop in his tracks, suddenly sounding nervous and fiddling with his helmet. He would ask if Ram was alive, and the instant Rem gave him his answer, a low, cold voice came from his helmet, telling her this ain't funny. As Rem and Subaru leave, Al watches them leave and mutters to himself, "You gotta be joking me." So that's what it was. Makes me want to puke. This incident alone leaves us with a question that hangs in almost everybody's mouth. Just who is Aldebaran? Well, we really don't have a whole lot to work with. 36 volumes deep and with multiple side stories, we are still learning basic details about him. He rarely, if ever, speaks of his pre-isekai life, besides the occasional reference to his parents or the fact that he is an only child, and he was transported around the age of 18, and beyond that, we're left in the dark. There's this big gap of time between Al being brought here that we don't know about, and